everybody? My name is JP. I am coming to you from the Las Vegas Container Park right here in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada, along with my partner Michael Deeb in San Francisco. And this is Bid Nerds, and we are said nerds. How the heck are you, Michael Deeb? What's up?
What's up, dude? Hey, man. Look at you. Here we are.
We got a cup of coffee. We're trying to share the word and spread the nerd. That's what we want you to do by hitting the subscribe, like, and notification button. Okay, look, I got to get in here. Look, you're a nerd. You're watching this episode. You're a nerd like us. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
Facts.
It's facts. There's only 5 or 6 of you out there watching the show, and we really appreciate you for doing so.
We could name it.
Let's make it 10. Let's make it 50. Yeah. Let's make it 10 million. We know there are that many nerds out there. They need to know that the nerds, that this is, I feel like it's going to, it's like we need kind of dim, flickering fluorescent lights and some stale coffee, and we just need to be up here. My name is John Polnik, and I'm a nerd.
Yeah, who cares?
I bought my first 914 when I was 19 years old, and a bunch of people off in the corner just oh, God, I got a problem. I've hit rock bottom. Here it is.
We could be all hip. We could be all hip.
Spread the nerd.
We could be all hipster nerds, and you could be like, Michael Deeb, what did that car sell for? And I'd answer you, it's a really obscure number you wouldn't understand.
But if you were a nerd, a bid nerd, you would know before everyone, and you could brag about it. Yeah. All right, what do we do on this show? We find the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. We talk about that car. We have a conversation. Why the car is good, bad, interesting, or otherwise. Then we make a prediction as to what's going to happen with that particular car in its respective auction. And then at the end of the episode, you get to see the results of the auction. As we tell you about it, we time travel into the future. You're going to do just that in moments. But first, let's go ahead and get to today's most interesting car. We're going to have to quantify this one. People, I don't know if people are going to agree that this is the most interesting car from all the automotive auctions. What are we looking at here today? Why is this the most interesting car, Michael Deeb?
JP, this is a shout out to Cars and Bids and to all the Doug DeMuro fans in the audience, both of you. What we're looking at, John, is a 2012 Mercedes-Benz E63 AMG Wagon. Doug DeMuro admits that he's a huge fan of wagons, as am I. Remember when I met you, I had my Audi S6 Avant. Doug DeMuro said that when he opened Cars and Bids, the very first car that they auctioned was his personal 2012 E63 Wagon, very similar to this one. This one here is offered to us out of Coronado, California, with just 20,000 original miles. Imagine that, JP. Car's 10 years old. It's just got 20,000 miles on the odometer. And this is a kit sled. Our car is equipped with let's see, let me go over it with you real quick. The performance package, the P30 AMG performance package, that raises horsepower to a whopping 550 and torque to a whopping 590 pound-foot of torque. It also raises the limiter so that this car will now drive to 186 miles per hour. Limited slip differential, carbon fiber inlay trim, and the upgraded sound system, the Harman Kardon sound system. This car is basically equipped to the hilt and looks to be in spectacular, almost as brand new condition. The 7-speed automatic transmission also shifts quicker when you get the performance package. So if you had to buy one and you were going to drive it yourself, I think this is the one you'd want. Interesting thing, my buddy Jeff Harley, friend of the show, used to work at Porsche, and he said all the guys that bought 997 GT3 RSs, both 1s and 2s, he said almost every one of them at their dealership in Marin all had a Mercedes AMG Wagon as their daily driver. So this car does seem to hold a special place in the hearts of 911 fans. I love wagons, especially the fast ones. This car kind of turns me on. I love my SUVs, but these things kind of be the practicality of the SUV, but the driving characteristics of a muscle car, sports set. And this one looks to be as nice as any as we've seen. So a homage to Cars and Bids, Doug DeMuro's first auction lot sold. This car looks great. Doug says he wished he owned it himself. I would agree with that sentiment. I tell you what, JP, I would love to drive this as my daily driver. I know it's an automatic, but man, this car would do all things for me. Do you agree? Would you ever own a sport wagon? Have you ever owned a sport wagon in the 500 or 600 cars you've owned in your life? Did you ever drive a fast wagon like this?
I do love sport wagons. I don't particularly like this one. I know I like the way they drive. You know, I can support your GT3 and Mercedes story. I mean, our good friend Rami from the Rami Show and others. Go check out the Rami Show on YouTube if you haven't already. Another show that I produce. But you know, he loves Mercedes almost as much as Porsche. He drives a G-Wagon, a G63. But there was a moment there about a year ago or so when he sold his G squared. Because he wanted the new version of the G-Wagon. You know, the new version is wide, has a wider track, and just it's kind of a more luxurious vehicle. So he wanted one of those, but he was kind of waiting for one. And in the meantime, he bought one of these G63s. Now, his was a newer one. It was a, you know, like a 2020 or 21.
He bought C63 coupe, right?
No, he. One, yes, he did have that car, but that's not what I'm talking about. He actually
sorry, confusion. I'm confused.
No, it's a logical mistake. But he did get a G or whatever, not G, one of these. But the new one, he bought it was a 20 or 21 V8 B-turbo coupe, the latest version, and I'd never driven one. He like insisted that I drive it, and it was just bonkers. It was just so fast and stupid.
It's unbelievable.
But I just
the
can't
torque.
look at them. I think they look so stupid. Look, we produce the Las Vegas or the Vegas Auto Fest every year at the Red Rock Country
Coming
Club.
up?
Yeah, it's coming up on September 17th, and we get thousands of people to come out and see the most beautiful cars in Las Vegas. Every year, and we don't segregate it like, okay, the Ferraris are sitting here and the Porsches are sitting here, but we do segregate it in the sense that we have like exotics and Porsches over in one area, and then we have another area for the muscle cars, the Mustangs, the Camaros, and the Corvettes. And I think we have to start putting Mercedes over with the muscle cars because
seriously,
I mean, it's no joke. Mercedes, you could just pull the body panels off of this and put Mustang body panels on here, and it would be the same dang thing. It's just there's so much power in these cars. They just rip the rubber right off the rear wheels, and they are terribly fun. And if you have to drive a wagon, this is the way to go. And I think wagons are absolutely of value because it's like, well, I would definitely rather drive this than a CRV or any kind of like normal crossover.
For sure.
Or Mercedes version of the CRV. What is Mercedes? What is their
the GLK
crossover? GLK. I mean, gross.
GLC.
Or even their full size. What is their full size SUV? I don't even know what those are called. I don't even care to think about it.
GL, just a GL.
GLs. Yeah, I mean, gross. This is if you're gonna drive a 4-door Mercedes and you need to have a bunch of space, and you're like, okay, you need a utility vehicle from Mercedes, and you don't want to spend the money on a G-Wagon, this is your jam right here. I could easily live in the back of this car. There's so much room. There's way more room in this than a G-Wagon.
Patootie could. It would be like
Patootie's
luxury. Van life.
Totally. All right. So what do you think this thing's going to sell for at the end of the auction? Do you think it'll even? I mean, is this the right platform for this car? Clearly, I think it is.
I think it is. JP, wrap your brain around this one. So this car was $120,000 brand new, and that included $18,000 in options, or it was 118,000 with 20,000 options. In any case, this car was fully loaded and it was only 120 grand. Today, these cars fully loaded are nearly $200,000. So how's that for your argument for inflation? But with 20,000 miles and already 25 bids, this car is getting some love on Cars and Bids. Our car is already up to $65,000. Now, believe it or not, when I went to do my research, none of my sports car black books have this car in it. It's not really considered a collectible, so I don't really have a lot to go by, and I don't trust Kelley Blue Book at all. So I'm really shooting for the hip on this one, JP. But I'm gonna go. I put 69 grand, and it's already up to 65. So I'm gonna change my thing. I'm gonna go big on this car. I'm gonna say $89,000. I think this car is basically going to go close to sticker, which is just ludicrous. But find another one. If you go to buy a brand new one today, it'll cost you twice as much money. So why not? So I'm going to go $89,000 and send it to you. I might be high, but wouldn't be the first time.
Well, I mean, there it is. My partner, Michael Deeb, reveals that he's a dirty, dirty cheater. He goes to all the blue books and all the websites and checks the prices of all this stuff. Everybody's like, why do you get to bid second? It's because my partner's a cheater. He goes and does research. He doesn't know anything. He just looks it up. I'm doing this from the seat of my pants.
I only researched this car. Because I didn't know anything about it.
Right. He's not a dirty, dirty cheater on all the other cars. Look, I'm with you though. This is a hard car to know what the heck its value is. You said that how's that for inflation? I think that a car like this is a case study in depreciation. The last couple of years have been weird for car prices because of supply chain issues. Which have kept pre-owned cars actually in many cases appreciating, and this car, even though it's a little older, if it weren't for those very same factors in the market, this car would be worth less. I mean, at 65, a couple of years ago, or let's put it this way, if the last 2 years were normal, if there's any way to do that, right? This car would be a $30-something thousand car. It's only because it's hard to get new ones. Is something like this worth that much? Mercedes are one of the worst cars when it comes to depreciation. And Mercedes and Audis just are terrible.
Fall off a cliff.
Yeah, especially something like a wagon. There's just only in a wagon with all kinds of power. Come on, who wants this thing? I do think it's neat. You said 89,000. It's at 65,000. How much time do we have left to go on this auction? How many days we got left?
Few days, 3 days.
A few days. All right. It's not uncommon for C&B, for Cars and Bids, to not have late stage rallies, whereas the other auction sites tend to have a lot of action at the very end. But 3 days out, it's still anybody's guess. 89,000 with 65 where it's at now. That makes some sense. I think I'm going to park it under. Yeah, I'm going to go. Yeah. I'm going to go 79. Say it finds another 10 grand.
Okay, that gives you a chance.
But honestly, I don't know.
Argue.
I have really no idea, and I
don't know
why
book,
anyone.
So we're
I
guessing.
don't know what. Huh?
We're just guessing. I mean, that's all there is.
I don't know why anyone would pay 80 grand for something like this. It's cool. It's neat. But it's all right. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the what? Go ahead.
Yeah. Because and here's the thing. My argument would be because it would cost 179 and 6 months to get a new one. So you can have this one with 20,000 miles on it, and the only factor is that it's out of warranty, and you save $100,000. You can have it right now. So I think that's why it's bringing the money, and it goes back to what you were saying about supply and demand.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at the market right now and what's going to happen in 2 years, or over the course of the next 2 years, I mean, is this car going to be worth anywhere near that in 2 years? No way. I mean, if supply catches up or demand side goes down, there's so many different factors that could. This is a risky car to park money in. If you're going to spend $80,000 or $90,000 on something like an air-cooled 911 or something like that, you're in a car that may depreciate a little bit, but down the road will be worth something. A G wagon. This is just a spiraling toilet bowl of investment money. I mean,
but JP, if he buys this car for 80 grand at your price, right? In 4 years, he gets $50,000 less for it. But he bought the brand new one instead at $180,000, and in 4 years, that car is going to lose $100,000. So I still think it might be the lesser of two evils, but it's still a better choice.
Stupid investment.
Exactly. There you go. Come here to learn how to make the better stupid investment. Bid Nerds, your friend for stupid investments.
You're right. Now look, what about the shooting brake Panamera? The Gran Turismo Panamera. That's a nearly $200,000 car on the used market that in 2 years will not be worth $50,000. That car will still be worth all the money.
Right. But when they first made them, John, in 2019, pre-pandemic, those cars were giving them away. They were falling off a cliff. It's only reason that they went back up to look like they're strong investments goes back to the supply chain problems with getting a new car from Porsche. So I don't think that while the Porsche is better, I don't think it's it's still susceptible to ludicrous amounts of depreciation.
If you're gonna buy a fast wagon shooting
Right.
brake car,
Hang on to your wallet.
yeah, you're gonna lose money. But I think the Panamera Gran Turismo is one that will appreciate, no, but it will depreciate the least, especially even compared to regular, like Panameras are worthless. I mean, you don't want a long-term Panamera, but the shooting brake one is something that's kind of special, and I think those will hold their value better than just about anything else in that class.
JP, I bought a $24,000 2002 Audi S6 Avant with like 26,000 miles on it from Illinois. Car came out. I drove it for 3, 4, 5 years. Esther drove the snot out. We put, almost 100,000 miles on the car, and I wound up giving it away for like $2,500. I lost $40,000 plus on that car between shipping and maintenance and repairs.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, what about the maintenance? How much did you have to?
Oh my God, $40,000 or $50,000 I lost. I buried into that car for 5 years. So that car cost me $10,000 a year to drive. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a ludicrous investment. It was terrible car. And yet I loved it. The car drove great. Esther absolutely enjoyed it. It did what we needed. It's just, if you love a wagon, it's a weird relationship. It just is. I would probably do it again because I'm that stupid. But I like this one. This one looks really nice. Super fast. 600 pound-foot of torque. Oh my God.
Find me a 1995 300 whatever Mercedes wagon. That would be dope.
Yeah.
That's a nice one of those is going to cost you around 10 grand and is always going to be worth that. But anyways, all right. Well, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below, and we're going to find out how much this car sells for.
Spread the word.
Doesn't. Yeah, hit the subscribe, like, and notification button right now. Spread the word. Share nerd. Grow the herd. See ya. Be right back. Okay, guys, I want to tell you about Vegas Auto Fest. The drivers are coming. This is one of our big sponsors. It's the biggest car show of the year in Las Vegas. It's one of the coolest car shows you can possibly experience anywhere. If you haven't made plans to be part of Vegas Auto Fest on September 17th, then do it now. Go to vegasautofest.com and register your car. You think you're a car enthusiast? Doesn't matter where you live. Plan a trip to Vegas on September 17th and come out and see this show. It's like Monterey Car Week all in a day. Have you ever been to the Quail? Have you ever been to Works Reunion? Have you ever been to Amelia Island? All those car shows are amazing and great. Have you been to Luftkult? Sure, but Vegas Auto Fest is something special. Make a plan for September 17th. We'll see you in Vegas. All right, guys, welcome back to Bit Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. My partner picks a lot of the cars when we're doing this. He says the most interesting car is this lame-ass Mercedes. We lost our image there. There we go.
That muscle car.
You guys, do you think this is interesting? Are you unsubscribing now? I mean, I would if I were watching the show. I'm urging you to subscribe and like and hit the notification button, but this car is not interesting to me.
How many of the Bid Nerds listeners have kids? This is their car, man. This is their daily driver.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yes, the practicality of it makes sense to own something like this, but does that make it interesting? What do you guys think? Well, go ahead and put that in the comments below. And while you're writing a comment about how uninteresting this car is, my partner Michael Deeb is going to tell you what happened with the auction on this site. Were buyers interested? Did they think it was interesting?
Yeah, I think so. So here's the thing. Part of what we do, we pick the most interesting car, and we're also picking it on the most interesting platforms. The thing that was cool about this car is that it's a little bit older, right? It's a 2012, which is 20,000 miles. It had that special package, the performance package, which makes it rarer still. And then it's on Cars and Bids, which is a great place for a lease return. But for something that's, as interesting and as niche as this unique car is, I thought it'd be worth watching. So we did. Now, here, John, I'm going to pay you a compliment. Let me rinse out my mouth because it's going to taste terrible. as I spit these words. But you often generalize and you say things like, on cars and bids, they don't get any action at the end. And a lot of times I'm eye rolling on the inside going, that's not fair to say. Sometimes it happens, but it doesn't happen every time. Well, it happened this time because I think when we looked at this car, it was around $65,000. And I thought, being the sage bid nerd that I am, that I would read the tea leaves. And so I thought, holy moly, when this car closes in a couple of days, it's going to get up to $89,000. When you got done laughing at my bid, you came in $10,000 under me and said $79,000. And our lowly car maybe got one or two more bids, and it closed. It sold for a whopping $67,630 on an incredible 30 bids. In a vacuum, that's a great result. It's only laughable when you see how high we bid over it. And that's because I started and I went way too high, or I was smoking and got too high. But not that I do that. But anyway, that's the gist of it. Very funny. It didn't get any action in the end, which is typical, as my partner would say, on cars and bids. And it pains me to agree with him because that's exactly what happened here. Again, a great result. It just didn't go much further than from where it was when we reviewed it a few days prior to the close of auction. Congratulations to the consignor. Congratulations to Doug Tamiro. This is a great result. Just the bid nerds overshot the green by like 2 club sizes. Anyway, there you go.
One thing that I'm kind of impressed by this car, being that it's from 2012, and we say that it's kind of old, which in, I guess,
11 years.
Yeah, if you work at a car dealership, that's considered an old car, right? Which neither of us do, by the way. Work at a car dealership. But I just, I still have a hard time thinking of a car from 2012 as being old. It's like, it's brand new. I guess that's what happens when you get to be old guys like us. This car, I'm impressed by this car in the sense that it still is bringing in the 60,000 something at all. I mean, you look at most Mercedes, they depreciate horribly generally. Other than maybe G-Wagons, Mercedes and Audi are probably the 2 worst from depreciation point of view. They start out really hot, expensive cars, and then they just plummet. So for a Mercedes, a 2012, this car, what's the normal version of this car? Obviously, this is the V8 turbo, so an
E350, an E350 would be the normal version, and then a 550 would be a V8 option, and then a 63 is the works.
So how much was this car brand new? This V8 turbo,
$112,000 11 years ago. Yeah.
11 years ago, so this is $112, which is just over 100. Okay, how much was a E350? Probably 50 grand or something like that.
Yeah, probably a little more than that, maybe 60 grand.
Okay, so a car, the regular version of this car is probably worth 15, 20 grand. Maybe a little more, but certainly nowhere near half of what it was originally. And here this car gets pretty close, or maybe right at half of what it was 10 years ago, brand new.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn strong for Mercedes. I think anything else, but we've seen some pretty big depreciation and softening in G-Wagon prices. I mean, G-Wagons have really, I'm not going to say plummeted, but they've taken a big hit, which typically we've never seen before.
And there's a ton of them in the marketplace. It used to be that you see one, you're like, oh, these things are cool. Do you know what that is? Now everybody knows what it is. They're everywhere. And a lot of them have been brought in prior to when they were sold in these states. That's a big car. I'd say that's one of probably the most popular cars to bring in from overseas, those early G-Wagons with manuals and diesels and convertibles and things like that. All the ones we get are typical, leather and wood. They're not the car you would hose out because you took it, off-roading or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this car, a 2012 G-Wagon, is got to be somewhere in the 80, 90 range, or so. I'd certainly rather buy one of those and drive one of those than this thing. This is definitely, probably handles a little better and is certainly more incognito.
Yeah, this is a better driving car, and certainly more invisible on the road. More practical if you're bagging groceries in and out of the back of that thing, or putting a kid in a baby seat, or jumping dogs up into the back, which is where it's relevant to my family because we've got a couple of pooches. I remember Esther had the Audi wagon that I bought when I first met her, and she loved that thing. She called it the dog wag, which was really cute. But I think you brought up a really good point that the base E350 is worth maybe less than 20% of its original value, where the AMG version here is still bringing 60% of its original value. That's strong. And I think that has to do with the miles. I think that has to do with the option package that's on this particular one. And then the fact that Doug DeMuro brings it to a national audience. It's not seen by a few, it's seen by many. And I think that makes a big difference. I think that's why these platforms exist, so that this guy can find $67,000, $68,000 for his $112,000 11-year-old car. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm surprised this one doesn't have a way back seat. That third row probably an extra $10,000. But
I don't think Mercedes ever crash test those. I don't think Mercedes-Benz ever crash test those. Audi did that with the Q7, and that was their niche.
I think some of these do. I know the earlier ones. I know the old school 124s and stuff like that. Or I don't know, I'm probably getting that wrong.
Different era, different
era altogether. All right, what do you guys think of the results on this car? Is that bonkers? Did someone just crazy overpay for a boring yet not boring wagon, or is there some poor soccer dad out there or soccer mom that was just like, I have to have a wagon, dang it, but I'm going to have fun doing it. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below, and tell us what you think the most interesting car of the day should be on a future episode. Is there an auction you're watching? Have you hit the star or follow button on one of these auction platforms and gone, I really want to know what the Nerd Herd thinks about car X? Tell us in the comments below. We want to know. And while you're doing that, hit the subscribe, like, and notification button if you haven't done that already. We will see you guys tomorrow.